Hi, everyone. It's Alyssa, and we have got to talk about Weapons, directed by Zach Cregger and starring Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich, and Amy Madigan. This movie, right off the bat, I'm going to do no spoilers. I would never want to spoil anything with this. Really got me. I loved Barbarian, which was Cregger's previous film. I think it came out in 2022, somewhere around there. I've already seen that film 3 times. I was kind of enamored with how it was able to change genres and shift in a way that I felt like it wasn't weird. I was on its level. I just loved the narrative structure. I love how it felt like Psycho and the way that it was structured from a narrative perspective. I just loved everything about it. But Weapons is no different. It's just on a much bigger scale. So it's so awesome to see Cregger do something where it's like in this much more sort of like insulated, claustrophobic environment. And then you go into Weapons and you are in an entire community, an entire town, and there are so many characters that you're interacting with. And it just felt like he went even one step further, and he is turning into a horror director that I will see literally anything that this guy makes. It was just so engaging from the very beginning. So the most basic of premises, which everybody knows, is 17 school children all leave the house at the same time, 2:17 a.m., and it's a mystery of what happened. Julia Garner plays the teacher. She only has one student, Alex, left in her class, and immediately the whole town, mainly Josh Brolin, kind of goes against her because what did this teacher do to infect these kids with some kind of thought that made them all disappear? And so being a teacher watching this movie, it already gave me so much anxiety because it was just one of your worst things imaginable to have like the entire community go against you when everything you're trying to do the right thing and you really care about the kids. So the setup for this for me was amazing. And you, from a narrative perspective, you get it from so many different characters' point of view. And the story is just constantly shifting, and you're meeting really different types of characters. And it's surprising because you don't meet just the stereotypical types of people that you would expect to meet given this sort of like mystery element to the story. Yeah, there's a cop played by Alden Ehrenreich. Yeah, there's an upset parent played by Josh Brolin, but there's other characters, which I will not say, that definitely add so much in terms of what is going on with the story. And so narratively, I loved it, but performance wise, I just felt like this was such a perfectly cast film. I love Julia Gardner. I feel like I love every movie I've ever seen her in. I just rewatched Electric Children. And what I loved were the characters are not written as if they're perfect human beings. So, yeah, she's a teacher, but she's a teacher who does not have it all together. And she has a lot of issues and background that you get. And I love that there's so much character development in this because a lot of horror movies, you don't really learn much about the characters, or they're really stock characters, or they can be, not always, but I do find like, yeah, that happens pretty often. And in this, it was a weird movie in the sense of I thought I was going to see a horror movie, and then it ended up going into like these dramatic elements, and it just kept twisting and turning, and it's definitely horror. Horror is a huge part of it. I will say there is one jump scare in particular that I literally felt my stomach go all the way up to the top of like my being. It was insane, but I didn't jump. I was so proud of myself. I went to see this movie by myself in the theater. Already I was a little like, why am I doing this? I get there, the guy who scanned my ticket just said, "Oh, good luck." And so I just walked in and I was already just like so excited and so scared. But it wasn't like relentlessly scary, which I think is important to say. It really like holds it for key moments. And then I, once again, didn't expect it to have like funny moments in it, like Barbarian. So I should have realized, but I personally really like the way Cregger intersects all these different genres in a way that feels real, even though it's not real. I just feel like he knows how to balance tone in a way that so many directors don't necessarily know how to do. And another thing I loved, sorry, I've had so many problems with my voice lately, so I apologize that I keep going hoarse. But another thing I loved about this is the score. So I saw Together a few days ago also, and I really liked that movie a lot. But there was one moment, once again, no spoilers, where the score sounded almost exactly like the score from Hereditary. And there was no reason for that to be. Like, get a different sounding score. And what I loved about this is it used the score sparingly. And when it used it, I thought to myself, this doesn't sound like everything else. And then you get to the end credits and you realize that Zach Cregger also worked on the score with two other people. So he's got so much of his hand in this. And I think that's what makes this work so well. Like, it feels like such a personal film, like an actual auteur that you're watching, and the all of the acting also top notch. Like Alden Ehrenreich, I can never say his name. I always forget. I'm like, what is this guy's name? I really like him. I loved him in Oppenheimer. I thought he stole all of those scenes with Robert Downey Jr., but here he's just such a lived in character. Josh Brolin has this kind of like quietness and fear that he has beneath the surface because he's always playing like this tough guy. But I thought he had so many layers, and you don't even want to get me started on Amy Madigan, who I loved in Field of Dreams. So like ever since I was a little kid, she was the mom that I always loved. Like, I just always looked up to her because she was never afraid to speak her mind. And what a great, strong character. And she's like that in real life. And it definitely took me a second to realize, oh my God, I know who that actress is, because she looks kind of different, I would say. She kind of reminded me of, I don't know, Mona from Who's the Boss, which is something that probably no one remembers, but that was the first thought that went to my mind. This movie goes in so many different directions. I just can't imagine anyone being bored by what they're seeing. And by the end, I was just fully engaged with everything. I think there are a lot of metaphors in this film. I went into it knowing almost nothing about the film, but then having accidentally did not even go looking for an article. An article just popped up from Variety saying something about, Alden Ehrenreich's mustache, and then a huge metaphor connected to the movie. So it was like this ridiculous spoiler. But then when I watched the movie, I felt like, wow, that's not even the main metaphor that I'm getting from this movie. So there's a lot that I think it's trying to say. I do think some of the metaphors work better than others in the film. Sometimes I was like, oh, I don't know if this like completely connects to what you're trying to say, or I'm just not seeing the connection 100%. But there's so many things to think about when you're done. I saw the movie 2 days ago, and I really cannot stop thinking about it and thinking about different theories and how we can look at different characters. So all in all, this is a movie that I give a really high recommendation to. If you're a person who really doesn't like horror movies and you get scared easily, I would say this felt to me in the middle, a little like probably above the middle, but not like the most scary thing you're ever going to see, because you get a lot of breaks where it is more dramatic, but it's also some really graphic imagery. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like that, then I would definitely say you may want to even just wait to rent it so that you can kind of look away. But if you are fine with horror and graphic imagery, like, this was so great to watch in a theater. I wish there were more people. There were maybe like 5 people watching the movie with me, and they were a little bit older and they weren't laughing, and I felt kind of awkward at laughing at certain parts. But it's a movie you need to see in the movie theater. The cinematography is really interesting. It's very like slow moving. I love the imagery. You see this in the trailer of just the children running. It's just really scary. And I can't exactly say why. They look like they're flying. They look like they're going to take off at any moment. Like they're almost doing an airplane pose, but not quite. There's just a lot that can stick in your head. And there's a lot of just like dreams. So you're getting a lot of beautiful cinematography, a lot of kind of realistic cinematography. I know that Cregger has said that he was very inspired by Prisoners, and it's funny that he said that because going into the movie, I did not know that's what he felt, and that was the first movie that I thought of. I was like, wow, this part or these certain sections really remind me of Prisoners. But what I love about it is that there's so many different sections and so many different perspectives that almost like the look of the film keeps changing depending on whose perspective you're getting in the story. So this comes with a high recommend. I know a lot of people have probably already seen this. So if you've seen this, I would love to know what you thought about the film. Was Weapons worth seeing? Did anyone else see Together? Like I said, it was crazy to have two really good horror movies come out so close to each other. I do think I like Weapons a little bit more because there's just like a lot more going on with the story, but definitely I would recommend Together as well. So let me know what you've seen, what you think about the movie. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And I will see you all soon. Bye.